in, ladies and gentlemen, to NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Tuesday evening. We got a loaded show for you guys, but I wanted to start with this because in case you were wondering, there's a lot of transition right now in the world of college football. In case you were wondering if there were still a king in college football, if there were still a supreme leader, a supreme power, you got your answer today, as ESPN has reportedly paid or is in agreement to pay $7.8, not million, Nate, $billion over the next 6 seasons to continue and extend their contract with the college football playoff, and obviously owning the rights, the television rights to broadcast the college football playoff. The current deal that is set to extend all the way till 2026. Don't ask me how the 12-team playoff is getting extended under the next 2 years under this previous deal, but the previous deal cost ESPN rotund $608 million. That's per year to broadcast those 3 college football playoff games. 3 college football playoff games cost ESPN roughly $610 million per year to own the rights of those. Those rights have now escalated to $1.3 billion per year annually. ESPN will be giving the college football playoff. Now, how that money is dispersed is beyond me. I'll have to do some more reading on that to bring that to you guys. But you should know that if you were wondering, hey, who's the big dog in this world of television rights with regards to college football? Ain't no question. It's ESPN. They sole proprietor, sole owner of the championship broadcast moving forward for the foreseeable future on into, what would that be, 2033? 7 years on top of 26 is 2033. So quite a long time the ESPN will be, going through this or at least owning the rights to this. Now, that was the important part of the reading that I did for you guys today, because though ESPN made a big Drake Energy move today by extending this contract and by being the sole television partner of the college football playoff, there is a very key note in there that basically says ESPN owns these rights, which means if they so choose, they can turn right around and sell the quarterfinals to Fox. If Fox wants to pay $600 million for the first round of the college football playoff, by God, ESPN just made half of their money back on one round of the college football playoff. And, oh, by the way, gets to broadcast the next several rounds. So it was noteworthy that they did have that option. And not only that, we now know with the alliance between, or at least the joining of minds between the Big Ten and the SEC, at least the conferences are willing to come together, which I would imagine means the television networks are probably willing to come together as they do on, the NFL level, right? There's 3 different television network partners in the NFL, and all 3 of them coincide with one another. All 3 of them work together to solve, collective issues. You would imagine that would be the same, sentiment here. Now, the news today, a lot of people was like, okay, a lot of questions here. One, how are we going to solve the expansion from 4 to 12? They don't have answers on that. One, how are we going to solve this whole automatic bids for 5 Power 5 conferences when we don't have 5 Power 5 conferences anymore? All of that still to be determined, and on paper still could nix this entire deal. So this isn't set in stone. It's not written in pen. It's very much so etched in pencil that this is what ESPN will be willing to pay for the extended playoff when it ultimately comes out. But the more interesting note, or I should say quote, than even the note about ESPN being able to sell this is Greg Sankey's comments that, again, were buried very far in the reporting on today's news. Greg Sankey had this to say, which you let me know if your alarms get set off on this one, because they did for me. Quote, "We are certainly interested in continuing the playoff, but there's work to do," end quote.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah, our television partner can pay almost $8 billion for this college football playoff. But me, SEC, the commissioner, who is the partner, like, let's be honest about this. ESPN and SEC are in bed so far together, they're married. They're not even having affairs with one another. They are 100% married, tied to the hip. And we got the commissioner basically saying, yeah, that's great. I'm glad that our partner is the one who got in bed with the CFP for the next 8 years, but we got work to do. Meaning, I'm not sure that the college football playoff exists. I'm Greg Sankey, and the Big Ten might be the AFC, and the SEC might be the NFC very, very soon in our Super League that we might be creating. Wink, wink. We just formed an alliance. Hello, right? Like that final comment, guys, today was like, yo, was that an empty threat? That felt very empty threatish to me. Not even empty. That felt like threatish to me. Like, y'all better get your shit together. Mm-hmm. That's great. $7.8 billion. Whatever. We still might dip out.
Anytime there's a but in a statement like that, when there's news like this of something that you would think, especially with the SEC and ESPN being partners, you would think would just be purely celebrated. But him, Sankey, wanting to put in on a but this also has to happen. A lot of other things need to happen. Yeah, obviously it should set off alarms in your mind.
All right, so I got a question here. So they paid for the first round, right? The second round of 8, the final 4. So now we're up to 3 rounds of playoffs. Someone do the math on the number of games. Here's what I'm trying to lay out to the audience here, and to the geniuses that talk about super leagues. I love the idea of super league, but here's the deal. They just paid $1.3 billion for 8 football games, 9 football games.
8 football games.
9 with the title.
It's not more than 12.
9 with the title.
Yeah.
$1.3 billion for 9 games to televise. So if there were a super league with 18 Big Ten members and 16 SEC members, if there was some super league of 34 teams put together, and those were collectively bargained together, those were meshed together and sold for one collective price, what do you think that price is going to be annually? And who in the hell can afford it? I've been asking, we've been talking about this for a while. Y'all, if you're out here talking about super leagues and hoping that super leagues are going to happen, you better hope for a conglomerate that has about $70 billion annually. You better hope for one of those, because, and I don't know who that is. I know one country, and
yeah, I don't
they've sports washed every other sport, and y'all don't like it. Y'all don't like what's happening to golf right now. Y'all don't. And y'all openly talking about super leagues that nobody can pay for. So it's a very confusing proposition to me, especially based on we got the evaluation. We got it today. Yep. $1.3 billion for just the finality of it. Not even the 90% portion that we judge the finality off of. The other stuff ain't even up for sale yet. We have no idea what that shit's going to cost. So, yeah, bottom line, this new deal today, it's in principle and in theory only. It can very so much be blown up at any moment. Welcome into tonight's show. We got a loaded one for you. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribing, rate, and review. And I see those numbers right now. I'm not happy with them. Let's pump those puppies up by the end of the show tonight. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure you're firing off in the live chat, all that good stuff. And, of course, subscribing to the platform. Welcome in. We got a great one for you. We're going to set the bar for a Big 12 program, a newly cemented Big 12 program. Tennessee fans, they wildin'. They absolutely wildin'. So we're going to talk about that today. I can't let fan bases wild and not talk about them. Who has the most valuable Heisman odds? Not what are the best Heisman odds, not what are the Heisman odds, none of that nonsense. Tonight we're going to be giving you guys some value plays out there, including a lock that ain't even on the board. If you can find somebody giving it to you, put the house on it, because it's going to be tremendous odds when it hits. And we're also going to talk about ESPN's releasing of the way too early top 25 today, and an NFL Combine record is apparently going to be broke, or already has been broke. We felt necessary to talk about it today. But welcome in. Want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. If you have not already, be sure to head over to prizepicks.com using promo code Brooks. You get a 100% deposit match. What does that mean? You put up to $100, you will instantly get matched with $100 right there in your account over on Prize Picks. Again, promo code Brooks over there. Obviously, a bunch of NBA games going on currently. Spring training, pitchers and catchers reported recently. So there is some action to be had over there on Prize Picks, despite the fact that football season has wrapped up. So make sure you're heading over there. All right, where should we start? I think we should start with this Tennessee story, because This is crazy. Not crazy. It's to be expected from this fan
Pretty
base.
on par.
Or any SEC. Do you think any SEC fan base would have to have extra police department at the federal courthouse?
Off the top of my head, the two that would not would be Vanderbilt, Arkansas, or not Arkansas, Mississippi State.
I mean, Ole Miss is rioting.
South Carolina fans
Bama's
seem kind of
rioting.
tame.
Georgia's rioting.
For sure.
Florida,
Maybe.
you know?
They have the potential. They have the potential to.
I mean, it's North Florida. Let's be honest. There's going to be some weirdos coming out of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty much South Carolina seem like pretty pleasant people.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe not them.
Yeah, Florida definitely is. There's a whole joke
LSU's
about
pitchforks and grenades.
Google Florida.
They're
Pitchforks
coming
and grenades,
hot, bro.
Yeah.
LSU is coming hot for this. So, yeah.
Kentucky might not. If it was basketball, maybe.
If it was hoops, for sure. But for most of you who you obviously know, if you've been watching any type of content, if you're here today, you are an avid college football fan, so you are well aware that Tennessee and Virginia are in the midst of a court battle with the NCAA, or versus the NCAA, with it being heard by a federal judge there. And though the hearing was today, my reporting that I read today said it lasted 70 minutes. I don't know if that's long or short.
Sounds kind of short for a government meeting.
It very much so does, or any type of government involvement. Anyway, hell, you can't get out of the DDS in 70 minutes. So, 70 minutes is relatively quickly there. I also read that the judge said he expects a swift and quick decision on this. So he's going to come out with something soon. I would imagine probably tomorrow morning or sometime tomorrow. I don't want to bet on that, but nonetheless, this is basically Tennessee and the state of Virginia requesting a restraining order against the NCAA, basically voiding all of the NIL rules and laws that are currently in place or that were previously in place. A lot of talking about how the NCAA has basically said, hey, we're going to enact rules on stuff that we haven't placed rules in yet because we don't really understand this whole landscape. But, hey, if we find out you were out here doing some crazy shit, we're going to retroactively put rules in place against that, and we're going to come for you. Well, Tennessee basically said, hey, that's a load of shit. That violates so many different antitrust lawsuits. We're suing, or we're at least going to court. And what is at stake now is if this judge rules in favor of Tennessee and Virginia, in my understanding of this lawsuit or this court case, if Tennessee and Virginia, quote, win, if the judge rules in his favor, all gloves are off with regards to NIL. Like, there are no rules. Now, there are very weird rules right now, but they all somewhat make sense, and they're all rules that have kind of been around college football for a long time. Hey, we can't be enticing high school kids with money to come to your program, rule number one. Also, rule number two, we probably can't be involving boosters directly with high school kids. So that was kind of the overarching, like, two primary rules. Your interstate code on how you write your NIL code, that was all varying across the country. We all know that. It's is why we are where we are today with regards to all of this hubbub about NIL. Just no lack of general oversight or lack of general rules. There just hasn't been any. So basically, or any consistent ones, if Tennessee and Virginia win this lawsuit, or if the judge rules in their favor, all gloves off, which a lot of people might hear that and they're like, hey, good news. F the NCAA, get rid of them. We don't need them anyways, all that good stuff. And if you're Tennessee, yeah, you got pilot oil money. Fuck yeah. No salary cap for you. If you're Texas and you have 3 billionaire, boosters in your football fan base, yeah, like, we don't want any rules. We don't want any type of stipulations. We want to be able to pay as much as possible. We'll pay top dollar. We'll get those players here. But basically, if you're anybody else, you shouldn't be rooting for this. You shouldn't be rooting for this at all if you're Kentucky. Or, hell, if you're Alabama right now having to play catch-up in the NIL department, you don't want this. Georgia fans, you don't want this. Florida fans, maybe, but you don't want this. It's basically like 3 schools, maybe USC. Congrats. You got Fortune 500 company guys that graduated from your university, but they really don't care about football anyway. So, like, there's a very select few schools, gentlemen, that if this is enacted, that it benefits. This idea that, hey, we don't need rules, let everybody run free, or this idea that every other school is rooting for Tennessee to win here, I find that very, very dubious.
I mean, it makes me think about, like, the current stage of MLB baseball now, where
I forgot Nebraska. Nebraska goes in this mix.
Definitely going.
Hey, root for this shit. pay all you want.
Yeah, it makes me think about the MLB right now, where you basically have like 5 or 6 organizations that can just spend and spend and spend money like nobody's business, to the point where like the Los Angeles Dodgers can say that they're paying Shohei Ohtani an absurd amount of money, but really it's over like 30 years, and it's kind of allowed like certain organizations to just kind of topple everybody else.
It is very similar to baseball in that structure, but my counter argument to that would be the fact that we still see organizations win World Series in the margins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're going to see college football teams win in the margins if we got some football teams with NIL budgets north of $30 million and we got some with NIL budgets north of $3 million.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think we're going to see any type of Tampa Bay Rays situation coming out of college football there.
No, yeah, I was just more so speaking on the fact that you could spend as much money as you want.
Just go.
Just
Open
go out
market,
there.
capitalism, yay. Pay as much as you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's going to be a real problem in the future. Because, I mean, also, what's stopping other schools from filing this lawsuit?
Oh, no, they won't even have to.
Yeah.
The moment Tennessee or Virginia, quote unquote, win in this debate.
Is it a Supreme Court ruling, or is it?
It's precedence is what it is. And the way court cases, from my understanding, the way court cases work is once you have Roe v. Wade, it's why these court cases are singularly named, and they are precedents. And once the next one comes up that fits under the category of that, it's already predetermined. We have precedents in the court of law. This is the way this is the way we side on this discussion or this issue. It violates antitrust laws. It's illegal. Doesn't happen. Once the NCAA loses one of these, they've lost them all.
So, like, what's stopping, say Tennessee and Virginia win, what's stopping Greg Sankey and the SEC from saying, well, we'll just make up our own rules and guidelines that you have to follow by?
Nothing, which is why this alliance was created. I think basically it won't be the death of the NCAA, but it will be the death of the NCAA being able to govern football. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It will be the complete avoidance of that. So, yeah, I mean, again, I see the comments in the chat. And Chris Foster, I applaud you, buddy. You've been in here every single week since we have started talking about Tennessee football, and you have been argumentative and strongly argumentative, and you know your shit. There's no doubt about that. But, yeah, like there are certain football programs and certain booster bases that have access to funds that others do not. And every single time salary gets involved in any type of sport, most of them, the overwhelming majority of them, are smart enough to put a cap on that, right? And baseball, like you said, is the only one who really doesn't. But there are still some limitations on what you can ultimately spend. And that comes out of one family's pocket in the major leagues, right? Yeah. We're talking about the pockets of entire states like Tennessee. So these are totally, they're similar discussions, but they're not.
Yeah.
And again, I know no one ever wants to give man's credit, but I credit the NCAA for, a couple months back at least presenting the $6 million Super League before we even got into all these court cases, like before we even got into Super Leagues and before we even got into the Big Ten and the SEC compromising and coming together and maybe producing their own NFL 2.0. Like before we got into any of that, the NCAA president was like, hey, here's an idea. $6 million budget, you got to buy in. If you can pay $6 million annually to pay your athletes, you can play in this super subdivision. Everybody was like, look at this idiot. Look at this idiot from the NCAA thinking he knows some shit. And here we are, 4 months later, talking about the same shit. It's going to cost way more money, and it's completely going to disassociate all Title IX sports, which, I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate the idea. Think about this. The idea of a Super League means that, and I don't know how Tennessee works, but let's take Tennessee's band, for example. You separate the school from the football program, the football program has to buy their own band. You all do realize this, right? If Tennessee volunteer football program disassociates themselves from the university, they got to buy their logo. They got to turn around and buy the facility if they don't own it. See what I'm saying? Like, they got to rent the facility. Okay, so, like, it's a mess. It's a complete mess. Just to what? Because we can't put legislation from the NCAA on paying players.
Yeah.
We can't have the government and the NCAA say, the government basically say, hey, the NCAA is an overarching good structure, but y'all are not doing right by these athletes who are making billions for your entities. And the NCAA basically looking back and saying, yeah, you're right. You're right. We're wrong. Can you please help? That's all it would really take. That's all. It was some compromise, some general compromise.
Yeah, I mean, people fall in love with the idea that, the NCAA is just this big monster that is terrible and needs to be evaporated. And the NCAA has definitely made some bad decisions in the past, but the idea that you completely take away the governing body just because it's not good, it's not going to work out well. Because like you said, you have all these things that people aren't taking into account. The logos, practice facilities, bans, Title IX stuff. No one really thinks about that when they say, oh, we need to get rid of the NCAA because it's the one problem that's in front of you. So
just give me 17% revenue split. Give me true name, image, and likeness. If you want to go, if Zaxby's wants to pay JT Daniels to start 8 games, then good on them. I hope they got some return on investment there. But this idea of pay for play through a collective is dumb as shit. It is the goofiest thing I've seen in sports in a while. That you're just going to ask your fan base to pick up your payroll while we all know you get $51.5 million annually from your damn TV network. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
That's wild to me. But yeah, I think the first correction and the main correction is, can we actually make name, image, and likeness what it is, which is paying for your marketability and not paying because you're a second string guard and the going rate on the salary is this? If that's the case, just give me the revenue splits. So again, Tennessee fan Chris Foster ain't having to figure out how he's going to tithe to the Tennessee Volunteers.
Would you see the Tennessee fan that spent his money to help the program today?
Bro, this is wild. This was wilder than I read a report that said Tennessee fans found their way into the actual hearing. They actually got in the not in the pulpit, but like actually got in to the facility.
Well, they want
to laughing about.
I was gonna make a joke.
Oh yeah.
I'll share the picture
Swing
with
next
our
time.
audience.
Swing next time. What's up? Oh, the picture?
The picture's
Yeah, this is awesome. As someone who worked in construction before, that lift probably costs about $400 a day.
yeah.
Is what I would tell you. Is that a scissor lift or what's going on there? That's a bucket lift?
Yeah, it looks like a bucket lift.
Yeah, it's a standard bucket lift. I'm just out here trying to flex my construction knowledge. But when you fly a big flag like that, you got to put weights down at the bottom of that sucker so it don't blow in the wind, right?
Yeah, that way you
like
can.
half the pictures I saw, half the T was showing. Even that one, the bottom right corner, that's a little bit sus. It's flying in the wind.
That's
gotta weigh that sucker down.
That's the definition of your unemployed friend on a random Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm going to the courthouse with my bucket lift, and I'm going to flag the Tennessee flag out in front of the courthouse.
Yeah, the idea that I sent y'all the tweet. They had to bring in extra law enforcement with anticipation that there would be riots.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
Throwing mustard bottles.
It's 2024 as well. I think again we went through all of them. Everybody, I think you missed on Mississippi State, by the way. You ever been to Starkville?
You ever been to Mississippi?
Yeah.
Boy, there's some bored folk out there. You telling me there's a riot in town? All I got to do is hop on my quad and get over there. I'm on the way. What you mean?
I guess. I just can't imagine Mississippi State getting so up in arms about their football team. Maybe if like there was a legislation to take the cowbells away. If something like that came across, I could see it.
That's one of my favorite legislations in college football, where the SEC was just like,
let them do it.
Whatever, dude.
Let them do
Just
it.
give it to them.
Everybody
Shut up.
Everybody else keep the vuvuzelas at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's wild right there. But yeah, shout out to Tennessee fans for going the extra mile. And I was overhearing a conversation the other day from a Tennessee fan talking about going to games at Neyland Stadium, and this is brilliant. And I don't think they do this at Georgia. I don't know if they do this anywhere else, but in Neyland Stadium, if you buy a Coke and you swipe your card, the first thing that gets prompted to you is your total, and then it asks you if you want to add on top of your total directly to Spire or directly to whoever their collective is up there. And that's a way of and just think about it. Like if you're a Georgia fan, if you're an Alabama fan, if you're a Tennessee fan, and you're going and buying a $13 hot dog, you might as well pay $17 and give 4 of it to the next corner that y'all are trying to recruit.
Yeah, I think a majority of fans would be willing to at least give $1 or give $2.
How many
Acorn investments.
transactions do you think go on during a football game?
A bunch.
A good bit.
You know what I mean? Like these are simplistic measures that every university across the country could be taking.
Every other business has figured it out, so I'm surprised that the universities haven't freaking figured it out.
I mean, some universities are out here giving $4 on each T-shirt that another company sells. So, let's go on to the next one. Set the bar. We set the bar a couple days ago for who was it? Michigan?
Yes.
Set the bar for Michigan. Here's how this works. We set the bar. What is the bare minimum of a success story for this program that we're going to talk about today? And that is none other than prime time. Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. Now, here's the deal. New conference, moving from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. I would argue they have a tougher schedule despite the fact that they played more ranked opponents last year.
Right.
There's no duds on this one. Mm-hmm. If you really, really look through it, which I did today, I think I give them 3 guaranteed wins.
Yes.
Okay, and then the rest of them are like, hey, let's flip a coin today. See which of these Big 12 teams is going to win this here rock fight. Mm-hmm. I think for me, if I were to just, because of the way expectations have been managed out there, because of the way they've talked about their operation, because of the way that they've hyped up both Shadur and Travis and all the new transfers, I'm not talking about Colorado in specifically, but they are included here, but the national media as well. If they don't make a bowl, this is a drastic failure.
Yep. Literally, the only thing I have is you have to make a bowl game.
6 wins.
It doesn't matter what else you do. The media is going to do the heavy lifting everywhere else that you need publicity and things like that. Just make a bowl game. I mean, Shadur Sanders is going to have a 300-yard game some point this season, and there's going to be a discussion. Is he the best quarterback in college football? You don't have to do anything but just win 6 football games.
And it's going to happen early, too. It's very similar to their slate last year. It's North Dakota State, CSU, Cincy to open. And then after that, it's just a rancid slate for a program like Colorado at this point. Nebraska, Baylor, at UCF, K-State, at Arizona, at Texas Tech, versus Utah, at Kansas, versus Oklahoma State. I don't see a ton of like, oh, yeah, they're definitely going to win that football game. Like, if I'm going into it, it's February. But if I'm sitting here in February looking at your schedule and going, man, Baylor's going to be a 4-quarter football game, you're in deep shit. Yeah. You're in deep shit going into your season because, again, I see 3 guaranteed wins. Y'all should win those football games. You're going to be favored by a touchdown or more, and then the rest of them are toss-ups for me.
Every single one of them. It's not looking good. And again, the hype that you build around your program, and when you have Shadur coming out saying, I don't think there's a single quarterback that's better than me, I mean, you do this to yourself. So, I mean, yeah, you absolutely got to make a bowl game. You got to get to the Gasparilla Bowl or something like that. You got to get to that point at least.
Yeah, so it's three guaranteed wins, we all say. I would say there's probably 6 50-50 toss-ups, so you have to win half of your toss-ups, which, I mean, is feasible. Like, if you win half of your toss-up games, you go 3-3 there. You don't have to beat Oklahoma. You don't have to beat some of these better teams, but you have to win your toss-up games.
If Texas Tech and Baylor and like Cincy are what they were last year, you have a legitimate chance of getting to 6 wins. But like if any of those programs improve, like Texas Tech, if they're better this year, or Baylor, like they should be better under Arnett, then
Texas Tech signed more 5-stars last cycle than Colorado did. 5-star receiver out of Texas. Like, you look at they beat Nebraska last year, and they might beat Nebraska this year because Nebraska's going to start a true freshman quarterback. But we're not giving you that one. You know what I mean? You might be favored by 2.5 points against Baylor, but we ain't giving you that one. UCF, okay, on the road. All right, good luck there, right? I mean, there's so many. I'm telling you right now, you're losing to K-State and Arizona.
I mean, North Dakota State, like.
Yeah, chat hit that on
they're tricky.
Head. North Dakota State gives everybody some sweats and some tight booty holes every year.
I mean, plus, like, let's consider in the fact also that what if Deion just doesn't really give a shit this season?
Oh, and we talk about consistency on this program constantly. I think it's our credo. Like, I don't care. You do how you want. I don't care. Be consistent. Keep the motto. Do what you do, and make me able to justify it, particularly schematically. If I can't justify it, it doesn't matter if you're consistent. If you're consistently shitty, you're consistently shitty. But in terms of your structure, how you're going about asset acquisition, how you're going about cultural development, how you're going about in-game adjustments, if those things are consistent in your attack and they make sense, we can justify it. I think he's been very consistent on his roster acquisitions. I mean, it's been very clear we're siphoning through these as fast as possible. We're going to take as many cracks at this transfer portal as we humanly possibly can. And even when we miss, we're going to send kids packing. Hell with it. They sent that 6'8" left tackle home so goddamn fast this year. They let that dude start play every single snap And then this offseason, they were like, hey, buddy, you got to go. You're trash. So they siphon through these guys. They've been very consistent. Here's my problem, and I said this on Snaps today. Here's my problem with Colorado and with what Deion's got going on. If you're going to have so much turnover in your roster, you better have damn good coaching, because what you're not banking on is continuity, right? You're not banking on guys being in their second, third, fourth year in the system, being confident, having developed at your program, knowing the guy beside them. Like, continuity and comfort are not in that room or in that building anywhere. So if you're going to implement a system, or if you're going to be, technically sound, if you're going to go about playing the game of football like you're supposed to, by God, you better have elite football coaches, because Jimmy down the road's got his football player for 18 months before September rolls around. You got him for about 4, 5, maybe a year now. Like, you're at a significant disadvantage from just a proximity to your players, right? You just don't see them a lot. And let's compound this worse for Colorado. There ain't been no consistency on the staff either. They're turning that sucker over left and right. Offensive coordinator, defensive line coach, all gone. Like, this ain't one of them ones that's out here consistent on either end. And guys, that's where we have been kind of planting our flag. You better be consistent.
Right.
There ain't a lick of consistency anywhere.
I think that's why you have to be so questioning about their schedule, because like, even in some of those games where you think maybe they probably should get a win, you don't know what the roster is going to look like at all. Like, all you know is Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are going to be playing for the Colorado Buffaloes, and Primetime is going to be the head coach. We have no idea how those 40 transfers, or however many transfers they took in this year, are going to pan out and look, and how that unit is going to look, or how the offense or defense are even going to look. So there's so many questions around the program that you have to question so many of the schedule.
Murray said today they have a really good Big 12 roster. And my only rebuttal was their really good Big 12 roster is compromised with other good Big 12 players that they have stolen. How many guys from Houston do they have on their roster? How many guys from Texas Tech do they have on their roster? How many guys from opponents that they're going to be playing did they just pluck a starter off of? And it's guys that, and it don't even have to be teams that they're playing. It's like, we grabbed a great player from Vandy, we grabbed a great player from Florida State, or a decent player from Florida State. We grabbed a good player here, good player here, good player here. You got B-plus players from B-plus programs. You might get C-plus results, right? You see what I'm saying? There's not. It's hard to assume that every single one of these new transfer players are going to perform at the rate in which they did to get to your program.
Yeah.
Like, Will Shepard's not going to have 800 yards this year, or will he? Like, I mean, is he going to be suddenly better at Colorado than he was at Vandy? I don't know. He's going to play against worse competition and have a better quarterback. So there's obvious, signs for that potentially.
20% of their incoming transfers come from other Big 12 schools.
I love having a stats guy here with me.
There you go.
That's just this cycle, too.
That's just this cycle. And then you got some Kentucky, some Alabama, some other schools.
Some Florida State.
Some LSU.
Yeah. And none of those guys starters at those programs, those big programs.
Yeah, I don't see.
Those are former 4 or 5 stars that just didn't work out at their previous home.
Yeah, like, I don't see a single name on here where I'm like, oh, I remember them.
Again, I'm fine with the strategy of rebuilding your roster that way. They were an 0-12 football program that was gutted with regards to talent. But you better be consistent in the coaching department, because you're going to have to out-coach. You have a bigger coaching job in front of you than other programs, and you put that task on yourself with your roster acquisition strategy. On to our next topic of the day, Heisman odds. Now, they have been updated since all of the new coordinator hires and coaching movements and all this good stuff. I'm just going to read like the top 12 kind of options here for you. And then what we're going to do today is we're going to circle in on a few, hey, take this one. This is going to be a guy that's at a higher value and has a legitimate chance of winning a Heisman Trophy. Here are the odds. Currently, Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck are the odds-on favorites at plus 750, followed by Dylan Gabriel and Will Howard at plus 1,000, followed by Jalen Milroe at plus 1,200, Nico Iamaleava at plus 1,500, Garrett Nussmeier, Jackson Dart, and Connor Weigman all at plus 1,800. So, gentlemen, I'll open the floor to you. Where's your value on this board?
I honestly don't hate Jalen Milroe at 1,200. Like, if I'm looking at value and potential, like, especially knowing like kind of the outlook of that offense and the outlook of that team of if Alabama is going to be worth a dang this year and that offense is going to succeed, it's going to be because Jalen Milroe was doing what he did last year, but probably for a complete 12 games this time of playing hero ball and doing everything by himself and having to improvise and do everything on offense. And if that's the case, then there's a chance that come December that he has put up Heisman numbers. No, it also depends on what the record looks like and how the team overall has performed, but I don't necessarily hate the odds and the value there.
Shame on Vegas for not taking the easy money by putting Shadur Sanders on here because there would have been money laid on it, and it would just been
absolutely
clean sweeping.
Him and Travis Hunter, honestly.
Thank you for your investment for your 6-6 program.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not winning a Heisman.
I have Dylan Gabriel as the best value. Now I know he's third best odds right now, but it's still plus 1,000. So that's
still 10-1.
That's it's still 10-1 odds right now. I think the fact that with what Oregon has built this year, there's going to be a lot of eyes on them in the Big Ten. Dylan Gabriel's a solid quarterback. He was a starter at Oklahoma. I think that it's a very real possibility he makes a big splash this year as a big year.
He's a top 5 quarterback in college football for me.
I would say so.
I have not watched a single Dylan Gabriel game and thought, you know what? He looks overwhelmed today.
Yeah.
Like in that Texas football game, they won that because of his legs.
Yes.
And he only needed that was the only game all year he really just used his legs. You know what I mean? Like the rest of them, he took what was available for him. So I love those picks as well. I think the idea that Garrett Nussmeier and Connor Weigman have equal odds and Nico Iamaleava has better odds than Jackson Dart to me is a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
I was looking it up today. Did you know that Jackson Dart has made statistical improvements in every single season of his career? Whether in across the board, it's completion percentage up, 6 points every single year. It's average depth of target up every single year. The only thing that went down this year was attempts, but his completion percentage went drastically up. His yards have gone up every single year. His touchdowns have gone up every year. His touchdown to interception ratio has declined every single, or however you want to say that, has gotten better every single year. Jackson Dart, the idea that he's going to have a 3,900-yard season and rush for 600 yards is not outside of the realm for me. And if that were to be the case, he's going to have about 45 total touchdowns. And that's tremendous value at plus 1,800.
If Jackson Dart is not in New York in December, then Ole Miss failed this season.
That's
I think
a good take.
I mean, if he is not a Heisman finalist, then that means Lane Kiffin and that Ole Miss roster failed to do what everybody, or I shouldn't say everybody expected him to, but what they expected themselves to accomplish this season.
Or he just got hurt.
Yeah.
So
I don't hate Nico on these odds.
I think he's a good dark horse.
Good dark horse, and I think he's going to put up stats this year, and they're going to be a variety of rushing stats in there as well. So he's going to well balance there, which I think has kind of been the key to quarterback winning the Heisman basically since Baker. Baker's the only one who didn't really have a ton of yards with his legs, and obviously Joe Burrow. But the rest of them have about 500 to 700 to 1,000.
I think Baker had a good amount of rushing yards too.
And it wasn't slappy. That's what I'm saying. I think it was about 350. Fact check me on that.
Look that up.
The year he won the Heisman, I think it was about that, something like that. You just go to his stat reference, you'll see the star next to it on the year he won the Heisman. But I got one off the board for you. And this ain't insider information because you can't even gamble on it anyways. I don't know if anybody's even got the odds on it.
Are you gonna say who I think you are?
Yeah, probably. Because I got the deets on. Everybody got caught up in the NIL evaluation of Caleb Downs. Everybody got so caught up in, I heard he's making this. I heard they're giving him a Maybach. I heard this. I heard that. I heard that. And I heard some of that too. But I heard some of the football stipulations on Caleb Downs, okay? And what do I mean by that? Well, I heard from solid sourcing that the stipulations were outside of NIL. The football stipulations were the scheme better fit. I better like it. Like we better like it as a camp. I want to be a kick returner and a punt returner because I'm good at it. And, by the way, I want 8 to 10 offensive snaps. Don't care how. I can play slot receiver. I can take jet sweeps. I can do whatever. But I want to play a little bit of offense because, you know what, I'm capable of doing so. And I've done that my whole entire life. And I did it in high school, and we had no business really winning a state title, but we did so anyways because I was the best player on the field at all times, offense and defense. And when I heard that, I thought, hey, maybe he's a football player, right? He just loves playing football. Mm-hmm. Maybe he just wants to play football more. And that was my initial thought. And then immediately I was like, oh, no, that dude wants to win the Heisman. That dude wants to be Desmond Howard. That dude wants to be what everybody told me Jabril Peppers was.
Right.
This guy wants to win a Heisman.
All he's got to learn how to do now is a backflip.
Yeah.
Heisman's locked.
So, or play with the shoes untied. Football is his first love, but they know what that camp knows what he is and knows who he is. And he's the best football player on the field at all times, even in college.
Yeah.
Let him play offense, see what happens.
Yeah,
I like Caleb Downs before he leaves Ohio State to be in New York winning a Heisman.
Yeah, I'm waiting on sports books to put odds on it because I mean it might even be the field.
It'll be the first day he goes out and takes offensive snaps, and they'll be late. And the 170 people watching this right now will be like, "Damn, that guy." I mean, his sliding scale majiggy was way wrong, but that dude has some Caleb Downs intel on us. So yeah, I like Caleb Downs at plus infinity odds at this point because it ain't even on the books. But the moment it is, go start hammering it as soon as you can. All right, boys, we got 2 more segments for this national hour. The Way Too Early Top 25 came out today, and shouts out to On3 for saving me a bunch of reading today because they put out that marvelous graphic.
They're great with the graphics.
And I didn't have to – they're great at repurposing other people's
Yeah,
comments.
ESPN's gotten
They're
really
tremendous at it.
ESPN's gotten really yappy lately.
Yeah, quit typing. Just give me the damn rankings. That's all I care about. Just talking too daggone
As some
much.
fellow journos, that's a great thing to say, you know?
Absolutely. So here's this edit, and I love this. Way Too Early with their logo bottom right via ESPN. All right, I got it on my screen over here. I guess I'll read it to you. Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Missouri, Penn State, Alabama, Utah, Arizona, LSU, Michigan, Oklahoma, Florida State rounds out the top 15, Tennessee, Oklahoma State, NC State, Clemson, K-State, Louisville, Kansas, Kentucky, Miami, and Texas A&M at 25. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the biggest what the hell is happening there, the biggest snub, the lowest ranked with a literal chance, an actual chance to win the national title, and then we'll play a game of properly rated, underrated, or overrated at the end of this. So biggest what the F. I'll start. What the is NC State doing at 18? Like, I like NC State. I think every single year NC State's a perennial 8-4 football program. I feel like I look up and find that in the ACC. But 5 new transfers, okay, including Grayson McCall at the quarterback position. And Grayson McCall was good in 2020. It's 2024. What are we doing? I was very, very surprised to see NC State not at 25, at 18. Like, it's way up there for a football program that has a bunch of turnover this year.
The Wolfpack, baby.
Yeah,
Wolfpack.
They're consistently like a top 35 team in college football.
Not bad, but 18?
Coming out strong with 18, that's a little too heavy-handed for me. Who the heck has all this confidence in Notre Dame being a top 5 team?
What the
Where
F?
did that come from?
Yeah,
like,
I
all
was
of a
all
sudden,
over
we think Riley Leonard's going to be the number 1 overall pick next year? Like, that's what it would take for Notre Dame to be top 5, in my opinion.
With what wide receiver?
Yeah, like, what are we doing here? That just feel like it felt like it came out of nowhere. Like, we're talking about Notre Dame like this now in 2024?
Every year it's, hey, Notre Dame's got a new quarterback and this offense is going to be revitalized and their schedule's favorable. They don't have to play in a hard
Their schedule is favorable. That's about the only thing you could say about Notre Dame this year. It is a slappy schedule.
Guess what? Who they play week 1? Riley Leonard's going to have 250 passing yards and be like, hey,
Bro,
Riley Leonard might
they
win the Heisman.
returned the same exact football team from a year ago, basically.
Yeah.
With a different quarterback.
So, I mean, that's
Yeah, but that was not a good football team
No, it
last
wasn't.
year. We all saw it. It was not – they were not the caliber of actual top 10 football programs.
Yeah.
They were in a sweater with Duke.
Yeah, that was not a program
but they got the quarterback now.
that was not a program that you watched last year and was like, oh, yeah, they're a Riley Leonard away from competing for a national title.
Yeah.
Well, we did find out just how terrible Sam Hartman is. So I was just completely wrong on that Wake Forest offense. Like, they turned Jamie Newman into a dude. Sam Hartman looked like he was going to be a first-round draft. People were talking about that dude being a first-round draft pick.
People talking about winning the Heisman.
Talking about winning the Heisman.
Yeah.
He is handsome, but he was bad.
Very,
he was
very
bad
handsome
this year
man.
for them.
Yes.
And was even worse at the Senior Bowl.
I've got one. And this one is more justifiable than all the others, but it's shocking to see. Neither team that played in the national championship is ranked in the top 10. Washington's not even ranked.
No.
Like, has that ever happened before?
No.
I mean, obviously
TCU?
Yeah, but Georgia
They were
was there.
preseason last year.
Georgia was
Were
there.
they
I
25?
know they were because game day was Colorado TCU.
That's right.
Yeah, but Georgia was in the top 4. Like they were like
Yeah.
both teams.
I was just thinking of both teams definitely has
That's
never happened.
insane to me. That's kind of my
Definitely
WTF
never
moment,
happened.
just because like, have you ever seen that before? Now, obviously, both teams are losing their starting quarterback. Both teams lost their head coach. The rosters are completely get it. I get why it's happened, but it's weird to see.
Absolutely.
I don't think Texas A&M finishes in the top 25.
That was
but
one.
I get why we're doing it.
Yeah,
I
It's-
don't. I
Texas.
don't get why there's a top 25 team. I really do not understand that one. I'm not a fan of it.
I like it.
I don't like it.
Anymore what the
Mm,
what the Fs?
not really WTF moments, other than like maybe Arizona.
All right.
That was another one that
yeah,
was
it's way too high for me.
Yeah.
We can save that for properly rated and all that good stuff. Biggest snub. I'll take the easy one off the top because I think we all had it pre-show. Where's UCF here, man?
Yeah.
They made some solid attributions from the
Solid.
transfer portal.
And
Justice
by
for
the
Gus.
way, he's recruited well down there.
Mhm.
Like I would argue that Gus has recruited pound for pound, right? He has recruited pound for pound at UCF far better than he did at Auburn.
I would agree with
Like
that.
at Auburn, you should be a top 8 recruiter if you're a dude.
Yes.
If you're caliber and winning national titles at Auburn, you should be a top 10 annual recruiter. He was not that. He's become a top 20 annual recruiter at UCF, dude. Like he is getting guys, and the way he's doing it is he's coming to Atlanta. Now there might be a little bit of a ratings bump, kids here in Atlanta. If you can walk and chew gum at Grayson, you're a 3-star. Man, that's a fact. That's just a fact, dude. So yeah, some of these kids in Atlanta get really, really hyped up, and I love Grayson, I do. But they got third stringers going to Tech, and I'm like, I ain't seen Buddy play a snap,
Yeah.
but he's 6'4", 220. So good on you, bro. So yeah, it's always been like that over there. But yeah, I think some of these guys get ratings bumps, but UCF being out of the top 25 is a little bit shocking to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no reason not to think that they couldn't be a top 25 team in the Big 12. Adding KJ Jefferson at quarterback, knowing what Gus Malzahn likes to do offensively with a guy like KJ Jefferson, I like the thought of them being a successful team in 2024. One team that I said got snubbed, and I said Air Force because Air Force every single year except for 2020 has won at least 9 games.
Yeah.
They've consistently been like a pretty good team, like at least a team that's like you can think about putting them in there at 25 or 24, but that was really like the only team that I
Not
could.
a single mid-major on the way to the
Yeah.
top 25.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah.
It was different to see for sure.
Justice for the group of 5, man.
Hey, show some love.
Can't wait to see one of those teams in the playoff.
That's crazy.
I'd be unranked, but now you're in the playoff.
Yeah. What do they do that? What are they going to do then if the highest ranked group of 5 team isn't ranked?
Pick them out.
Like,
of the
what
bowl.
happens if we get to the end of the season here? There's just no group of 5 teams.
My buddy, that right there is a conundrum.
Yeah.
And I also do not believe that Greg Sankey and our man from the Big Ten are going to sit around and allow that.
No.
We're gonna spin the wheel.
Yeah, no way that happens.
I'm looking at this UCF class. They signed 18 kids out of high school, or excuse me, 15 kids out of high school, and signed 18 kids out of the portal in 2023, including Ryan Davis. Shout out. And then did about the same thing in 2024. So, they got Ethan Barr. I liked him from Vandy. The linebacker number 10.
Yeah.
Good ball player. Yeah, and all their transfers are from like legit programs. I see one kid here from UTSA, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're going to be a good football program. So, lowest ranked with a chance to win a legitimate title. You guys got nothing here, huh?
No, I have one.
Nothing
I just
you feel confidently
Yeah,
about?
nothing that I'm
I'm-
like, bang. Right
I mean,
here.
this
I'll
team
bang
d-
the table for Louisville.
what's Louisville 18 or
21.
21?
21. I'll bang the table for Louisville.
I don't know, dude.
ACC's trash. Even worse this year than it was last year. Like, we know Clemson's some mid. We know Florida State's going to take a step back. Apparently, NC State's the second best team in the conference. Get out of here. Like,
Yeah, that is wild.
Why can't Louisville win 12 games and find their way into a college football playoff? And then at that point, hey, Let's go rock fight our way to a
I
title.
think that's what holds me up is that Louisville could absolutely make the playoff.
Yeah, they got to win in it.
But seeing them
that's the
win
hard
it,
part.
that's the hard part. That's why I went Tennessee at 16. I feel like that offense, if it's anything reminiscent of the 2021 version with Josh Heupel and Hendon Hooker, if Nico is truly what he's being built up to be, I think Tennessee's offense could be very scary, and they can get in the playoff because it's a 12-team playoff and make a lot happen. So I think that's Tennessee's probably as low as I'll go from getting in the playoff and winning it all.
I honestly wanted to say the lowest I would go is Oklahoma. That's honestly the lowest that I felt really confident in. And then like the furthest back I would go is Clemson. But I don't feel,
You don't feel great about that.
No, not at all. I don't feel confident at all about saying that.
I mean, yeah, no, it's such a wide open year this year.
It is very weird.
It's a very wide open year of college
But
football.
at the same time, I feel like you got like your top three, and then there's a pretty steep drop off. It feels like a little bit, in my opinion, at least.
Four.
Say
Four.
Yeah, Texas
Yeah.
at 4.
Top
is-
4, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, not 3.
Texas at 4 is legit.
and then a bunch of maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right, properly rated, underrated, overrated. I think Arizona, Penn State, Notre Dame are drastically overrated.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Arizona at 11,
And Notre
having
Dame,
lost their
obviously.
head football coach. Now, I know they kept the quarterback and the best
Mhm.
receiver on the roster and all that good stuff, and they played hard last year, but Jed Fish really turned that program around and was the main culprit for it being turned around.
Right.
Penn State at 8 is just classic. They're Penn State. Let's just make them a top 10
Is this
program.
James Franklin's year?
They don't have the bones.
No.
I mean, they don't have the structure. Now, they did make some additions this offseason in the transfer portal, including, I believe, a pretty prominent transfer wide receiver, but I'm still very skeptical of the Nittany Lions.
Yeah.
And then, like we all talked about, Notre Dame at 5 is
Disgusting.
very, very confusing.
Yeah, I think ESPN nailed the top 4. The only thing is I would maybe switch Oregon and Texas. I would have a little bit more confidence in Texas right now, just almost off the fact that they have Quinn Ewers, a returning quarterback, and a little bit more consistency with the roster. That's the only discrepancy I would have with the top 4. And then I would honestly flip-flop Alabama and Missouri. I don't really love the idea that we're just automatically saying that Missouri is now a better team this year than Alabama.
I mean,
like, if you were to say Alabama and Missouri right now, I would honestly say that I favor Alabama a little bit more than I do Missouri. It's just the same thing that we keep saying about Drinkwitz and the Tigers of, like, do it again and we'll believe in you. So I just don't really feel – I don't love the idea that we're putting them at 7 already.
I have LSU as properly rated. I
do
think
too.
that's
Yeah.
that's a team that, it's a top
They're
15
12?
team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Top 15 team, really solid roster, could make a lot of waves in the regular season, but not really anything that makes you go, that's a top 10 team for sure.
For the
right now.
drastic, and it's going to be drastic, the drastic drop-off that they're going to have from Jaden Daniels to Garrett Nussmeier
Right.
is the inverse of what they're going to have defensively in terms of the improvement that defensive coordinator is going to bring down there.
For sure.
I think they're 7 points worse on offense, 12 to 15 points. I mean, a lot in
Right.
some games. Like some games, it's like, how in the hell did you give up 49 points today? You are LS freaking you. What are you doing? So
Who do you have as
there's gonna be a
underrated?
drastic change there. What?
Who do you have as underrated?
I have OU with a question mark. The OU, but where are you gonna put them?
Yeah.
Right.
I really didn't see I didn't really look and see a team that's like, damn, that's way low.
I
Yeah, I didn't
struggled.
either.
The
I
only
bet Florida State fans are pissed.
That's-
but it's
that's
like,
what I
are you-
said.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, you lost everything.
Did you
Here's-
expect DJU to move the bar that much for
No.
That's
everybody?
why, it's the one portion of that conversation that no Florida State fan ever wanted to have. Like, yeah, it wasn't like you had returning starters opt out in that bowl game, buddy. What was left is the guts of your football program going into 2024, and it looked bad,
Very.
like, really bad.
Yeah.
So
The only thing that I have Florida State as underrated for is because they got absolutely gutted and we saw what that team looked like, but they still have the guy that got them there, and that's more than Arizona or Alabama or Washington or Michigan can say. So I think that I think that having Mike Norvell still coaching your
Yeah.
team does
top 10
one.
coach,
Yeah.
top 12 coach.
I
for
think
sure.
I think you could squeeze them into 13 or 12 somewhere, but there's
over
not
Michigan.
there's
No one-
not there's
maybe,
not
but
really a
even
team there's not really a team on this list where I'm like, wow, they're
Yeah.
that low.
Yeah,
Overall, it's a pretty solid list.
Yeah.
With
Not
the
bad.
exception of Notre Dame.
and NC State.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Outside of those two, pretty good.
I thought Miami was properly rated.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
You're just a
put them in at 24.
you're one loss away from
just
being unranked.
right there. You're just 8-4.
And if you lose week 1, it's like it never happened.
Yep. Shouts out. I love Fugazi records. I love records that people are going to be out here hammering home. Yeah, we went that whole segment without talking about Utah. I don't know how I feel about Cam Rising's 19th year of college football.
Is he going to play?
The idea that Kyle Whittingham, but it's the Big 12. Like they're going to be the best coached football team in the Big 12 this year. Any rebuttal on that?
All you can say
top
about
of my head.
that?
I mean, Gus Malzahn, maybe.
No.
I think that. I mean, that's pretty much the same thing you can say about Utah every single year. Like they're going to be the best coached team on that football field almost every time.
That's worth 10 wins in the Big 12, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So they're probably going to be the heavy favorite to win that conference, you would imagine.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's very foreign to them, obviously, so they're going to have to face a bunch of new opponents. Always hated playing new opponents. There's a sense of comfort when you know exactly what the opposition is and what they do.
Yeah.
I don't even have to see the same people. As long as I see the same core identity traits, particularly as an offensive lineman, or even like nowadays with how many different option routes and conversions that there are as a receiver, if I'm confident in knowing that, hey, this is a cover 4 press team, or this is a split safety defense that likes to roll covers 3 and 6, like I know where my voids are.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm going into every single week not knowing who this team is because this is our first time seeing them, that makes me not necessarily feel uncomfortable, but I'm not as 100% confident as I would be as if I,
It's a
were
learning
playing
curve.
a conference rival.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you saw that a lot with the teams last year. Like UCF struggled
Very much so.
for the early part of the season. Then when they finally did start getting things figured out, they turned into a completely different team. So I think that would be the reason why you kind of pump the brakes on Utah a little bit.
So we were talking about Fugazi records. I don't know of a lot of examples of these, but this one with the Michigan stuff that they're rolling out and that we keep hearing about, and we heard about preseason, and now we hear about postseason. Congrats on your national title, by the way. We heard preseason Jim Harbaugh talk about we're going to break NFL draft records. We're going to break that 15 drafts or 15 draftees. We're going over that. And then, you get confirmation bias today. 18 players invited to the NFL Combine. They're going to smash a draft record. Hold on that. I looked at it today. There's this magical website that I got the name right here. This is called, basically, I actually lost it. It's another Michigan article. But there's this website that basically takes all of the mock draft data and gives you a consensus ranking on where that person or player is getting drafted. All 18 invitees to the NFL draft are on this list from this website that I found. Only 7 of them carry a top 3 evaluation, like a top 3 round evaluation. It's J.J. McCarthy, who, by the way, is the only first-round eval on this roster, whereas, and this makes sense. We knew it based off the recruiting rankings and how Michigan went about winning their title. But, for example, Georgia, who has the draft record for most draftees and tied the record for most first-round draft picks, had 5 first-round draft picks and 15 total NFL draft picks. Michigan has the 1 ranked currently in the first round. Then Chris Jenkins, Blake Corum are second-round evals, as is Roman Wilson. And then you get into Sandra Still, who's a third-rounder, Zach Zenner, who's ranked as a third-rounder, and Junior Colson, the linebacker, who's ranked as a third-rounder. Every other member of the Michigan roster that is being invited to the NFL Combine, so that's 11?
Yeah.
11 football players are either ranked currently and projected currently as 6th, 7th, or undrafted free agents. So it's deep. It's a deep roster, but it's exactly what we thought it was in terms of, hey, that they're coaching their way and executing their way to a national title.
Which, I mean, honestly is, in my opinion, more impressive.
Yeah.
To do more with less.
Harder.
Yeah.
Definitely from a level of difficulty standpoint, definitely harder.
So, but yeah, I don't think 15's getting touched, at least not by Michigan.
No, I don't see it getting touched this year because, I mean, when you think about what Georgia had to do in that draft class to have that many players drafted, I mean, it was the 5 first-rounders, but then it was another 2 in the second round, 1 in the third round, 3 in the fourth round, and you had to stack them up in each and every round. I don't see that happening for Michigan's class.
CTE Football Brain. NFL Mock Draft Database is the website, as you would imagine. That makes sense, right?
Forget that name. That's a tough one to remember.
It's a database of all the NFL mock drafts. Maybe we should call it the NFL Mock Draft Database. Yeah, so I got guys like Taylor Upshaw, Trente Jones, Carson Barnhart, Caleb Mullings, Jalen Harrell, Cornelius Johnson. All these guys are also 90s pseudo baseball players based off their names, but they're all undrafted free agents currently in terms of projections. And you got like 7th round projections, and it's great. They're great college football players, but a lot of these guys will not be making their career in the league.
No.
Particularly all these offensive linemen that I keep getting told about for years and years and years and years and years. And they're going to go years and years and years and years and years without having a first-round draft pick at the offensive line position.
I mean, they got 6 in
Cesar Ruiz was the last first-round draft pick, I would imagine.
They got 6.
You don't even know that name, do you?
That's a deep.
No, I don't even know that name.
I think he might have been an early second, but go ahead.
I mean, they've got 6 offensive linemen in this draft class, and you named one of them that's projected to go in the first 3 rounds.
Yep, Zach Zinner. Yep, it was Cesar Ruiz. Round 1, pick 24. He has played in 62 games in the league. So, actually hasn't had a bad career. Still with the New Orleans Saints. I think he plays center for them. But nonetheless, I think this is a loud talking point for the Michigan fan base, as we have come to find. So, we have a whole nother hour of college football talk coming up to you right now, and we're going to talk that dog. See you in about 45 seconds.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog?
What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Welcome back into our local hour. We got a loaded one for you. We're going to talk about NFL Combine projections. I do this one every year. It's one of my favorite, segments to do. It's the idea that based off of tape and tape alone, having watched these football players during their Georgia career, I am going to try to take a stab at guessing their exact 40 time. One year, the first year I did this, I was 7 for 9, I believe, in the guys that I guessed and ran. So the combination of I put a number on them and they actually showed up and ran at the combine. 7 of 9 within 0.03. I think it was my threshold of margin, which that's damn elite. Now, last year, not so great. Last year, I think I was 5 for 8 or something like that. But it should have been 0 for 8 based off the terrible, terrible miss on Nolan Smith, which I'm never going to have happen again. I promise you that right now. I think I said 4.72 and he ran 4.41.
Yikes.
That's a miss.
There were several surprises last class.
Correct. Some really, really great pre-draft training, I would imagine, going on. So maybe I'll fall victim to such things again this year, but I doubt it. We're going to do that, and then we're going to talk about our favorite transfers, both in this cycle, right? There's 7 transfers coming to the University of Georgia this cycle, but overall, which is ultimately going to run us into another talking point that I don't know if Georgia fans are going to love, but you might want to stick around and talk about it anyways, because it's something about your football program that there's not a lot of misses. There's not a lot of errors. There's not a lot of bad, ugly spots on your 2-time national championship winning football program. 2 out of the last 3, should have been competing for 3 out of the last 3, whatever. Not a lot of ugly spots, but there is one that we need to talk about tonight. Aaron Murray fears the chooch. Can't believe it. Never thought we were going to be talking about this, but we're going to have to talk about this tonight. And, of course, I have a concept of the day. 11 Dawgs. 11 Dawgs headed to Indy. Shout out to PrizePicks, PrizePicks.com, promo code Brooks. You get a 100% deposit match. What does that mean? Put up to 100, get 100 back right there on the spot. A lot of action coming up. NBA basketball, MLB, working away in the spring ball, all that good stuff. PrizePicks.com, promo code Brooks. Now,
Muscle memory.
Yeah, 11 Dawgs going to Indy. Let's name them. Dejon Edwards, Kendall Milton, Ladd McConkey, Rojack, Brock Bowers, Amarius Mims, SVP, Zion Logue, Javon Bullard, Kamari Lassiter, Tyke Smith. I don't think all of them are going to run.
No.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mark out SVP. I don't think he runs.
Doesn't need to.
I don't know what Zion Logue's going to do, but I'm not guessing it. So we're going to mark him off rip. I have guesses and estimations on the rest of the names, so let's go ahead and throw them at you. Let's start with the running backs. Okay, Dejon Edwards has never been a long speed guy. No. Never. But here's what makes me really, really confused about this one. Multiple times did I see Todd Monken use that joker on jet sweeps. Multiple. One of them, I think he ripped for like 45 yards against Cincy a couple years ago. Like, what are we doing here? We're choosing to put the ball in that man's hands, running horizontally, and then getting vertically. Normally, you do that with your, fast people, like really fast people. So I've always told you on this network, pay attention to how coordinators use football players. That'll tell you what the coordinators think of those football players. Watching Todd Monken use Dejon Edwards as a potential, like, game breaker was wild to me. I didn't have that on the eval, and I'm going to stick by it. 4.65 is my guess at 192 pounds is what I think he weighs in at, around that area, and runs 4.65. I was shocked by the amount of weight that Dejon lost during his college football career. If you look at Colquitt County his senior year, like, he's thick. He's like 210, maybe 215 pounds. Lost a dramatic amount of weight during his college career. Found some speed, but I don't think he found that much. Boys, over under 4.65 at 192 pounds.
I'll go slightly over.
I'm going to go under at 4.62. I think 4.6 is about the right range.
Yeah, I think 4.6 sounds like the right number, but I think it's going to be like just a little slightly over.
I think his 10-yard split is going to be what really.
Yeah, everything.
Really,
all the other running drills, I think he'll do a good job in like 3-cone and everything.
He's listed at 201 on Georgia's site. So if you're Dejon, do you come into the combine heavy or light?
I'd go light.
You got to. I think you.
If you're running, go light.
Yeah. Maybe pull a Bryce Young, come in heavy, don't run, don't do shit, don't even take your sweats off. But he was Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Young's only concern was, is he big enough? So.
All right, on to Kendall Milton. Kendall Milton, who I believe was sub 4.6 coming out of high school, at 6'2", 225 pounds. So coming out of high school, he had like first-round measurables at the running back position. We did not see first-round tape. We saw first-round flashes. We definitely saw flashes of greatness from Kendall Milton. The straight line speed, it was there. I felt like even though he had game breakers, he always got caught but rarely got tackled. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like all of Kendall Milton's long touchdown runs, they're sub 50 yards. And every time it's like, ooh, nobody touched him, foot in the gas. That backside safety might get him. Touchdown. 4.67. 4.67 at 6'2", 232 pounds. I think this is one that comes in heavy. I would drink a shit ton of water. I'd be heavy, and then I'd try to just absolutely lose every bit of it before I got on that line. I'd be chucking myself up. We'd be doing all the good stuff to get all the weight off of us so we could try to run fast at that moment. But I think about a 4.68 is what we're looking at.
Yeah, I think high 4.6, maybe even lower, like 4.65.
Yeah, I'd probably go a little under
there. All right, so J. Will went over. We're going to put you first, Arrow. You went under on Dejon. Both went under on Kendall. Okay, I don't mind that. Now, here's the intriguing one. Lad McConkey. Okay. Now, I got a little inside intel on this one.
I have the number in my head.
I got a little inside intel on this one. This was a 4.39, 4.4 flat, like hand time guy coming out of high school. But he since added on about 25 pounds. Okay, when he was running those times in high school, he's about 165 pounds, soaking wet, just rail thin. And he's since put on, I'd say he weighs in about 192, 191, 190 maybe at the NFL Combine at about 5'11". Okay. Lad McConkey, official 40 time, 4.42. Here's the key. He's going to run a 4 flat in the short shuttle. The 5.10.5, it's listed on the NFL.com as a short shuttle. He's going to go 4 seconds flat on that, maybe even sub that, and he's going to jump north of 40 inches.
Yeah, I believe that. My number has always been 4.38 for the 40.
Here's why I've learned from years of doing this. He going to pop that 4.38 on the television network, and you're going to tweet how right you were, and then the official time is going to come back 4.42.
Yep.
That's what it's going to be. So I think we're right around that 4.42 range here from Lad. He's going to improve his draft stock in Indianapolis nonetheless. Shit, I forgot to buy plane tickets for that.
Oh, so you did hear back from him?
I think I'm going to go. But I'm getting a little touch and go from the boss man, but the boss man is like, you're fine. You should be fine.
So we're definitely not going.
I mean, you two, shit out of luck.
It's understandable.
Yeah, but, maybe one day.
Used to it.
Maybe one day. Now, here was my counteracting to the bosses. I was like, bro, the whole beat goes out there. The whole beat. Like, all the ops are out there opping. And normally I don't go. This year I think I'm going to go. And it might be a big waste of money. It might be a big waste of time. But who knows?
Only one way to find out.
Only one way to find out. I love that approach right there from your brother. 442, 4-second shuttle, 40 inches on the vert. Road jack. 4.68.
I'd go lower.
You're going lower?
I think
4.68's pretty high.
Bro, long stride.
I think
Yeah.
he's going to be the one.
Long
I think
strides.
if I had to pin a player as someone I think is going to surprise, like if he goes out there and is like he ran a what, I think it's going to be Rojak.
That is high. You know
I'm
what?
gonna
go 4.58.
I said 4.51.
Yeah. I just never saw the juice.
And I think that's why he might surprise.
Never
Yeah.
saw the juice. But you know what? I never saw it from George either.
Mm-hmm.
Never saw massive. Like, holy shit! Wow.
Took
Maybe
off
one
on him.
time, Missouri. He took a slant against Missouri.
Yeah, that one where he
And just
slipped at the
choo-choo,
end zone.
Boom. Yeah, and then slipped in the end zone.
Yep.
And I feel like if he's someone that you give him like 4 months of training or 3 months of training for
Yeah.
this moment right here, I feel like he could put a really
yeah, I
solid
mean,
time out.
you do have to think like all these guys are doing right now is practicing 40s,
Yep.
like learn how to keep. Like
Yeah.
they're not doing football
Especially
stuff.
I mean,
at all.
Senior Bowl's
If
over.
Rojak goes out there and runs a solid 40 time, that's a third-round projection potentially for him. I mean, he
Correct.
created a bunch of buzz around his name out of the Senior Bowl. He puts out a solid 40 time.
Tremendous hands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he was a great receiver.
4.58. That's
I
my
don't
guess.
I don't like how I've given unders for every single one you've given so far.
Yeah, and you know what? I was way slow. I was way slow on the guesses last year. If I miss, I'm high. It's very rarely I'm all like that dude's gonna run super fast, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
Including our next guest, which is Brock Bowers. This one's gonna be interesting, because
Yeah,
if I told you, what do you think Brock Bowers looks like he weighs?
looks like
Looks like. What do you think he looks like he weighs?
looks like 220.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
220.
say
Every bit
my
of
guess
220.
would be 235 is what he actually weighs.
Yeah. He about 232. So I think is what he's going to weigh in about. 234, 232, around that mid to bottom end 230 range. 6'4" flat. Like if he comes in at 6'3" and 5/8, I wouldn't be shocked.
Right.
So I don't think we're going to get any north of 6'4" and a quarter. This is not a huge human. He's a big human. He's not a huge human. 4.49.
Yeah.
4.49 is
I was
what
gonna, I'm
thinking.
actually I'll probably go higher on that one. I'll go 4.53.
So
It's
Bro,
weird.
when you got almost 22 mile per hour GPS traffic,
That's the
Yeah.
thing is
you
like
can roll.
the
Mhm.
amount of breakaways
Yeah.
that he had.
But how much of that is game speed?
I don't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I don't know.
And the other thing is like, and this is like game speed, like you said, watching Brock Bowers run. If you took everyone else off the
Looks
field,
like he plays at a different intensity.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
not even that. If you took everyone else off the field and just had Brock Bowers running a straight line 100 yards, he doesn't look like he's going that fast.
I hate to
He is,
Yeah.
but he doesn't look like it's like, holy shit, that guy's moving.
counterpoint though. I hate to regurgitate it again though. This dude's gonna train like a maniac.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
he always has, and not that he needs to go put out an otherworldly 40-yard time to lock himself in as a first-round pick. But if he's gonna do anything, he's always gonna train like with 100% to it. I mean,
Anything in the 4.4 range cements him as a top 10 pick, right?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go a little, like slightly over
4.53.
like 4.53, like 4.5 flat maybe.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is so fast.
It's
I don't think-
incredible.
I don't think people understand how
Yeah, I
fast
know.
4.5. Like some of the fastest people you've ever met in your life are out here clocking 4.5s. It's so fast. So yeah, we'll see about that. This was my favorite. Oh, by the way, gonna jump north of 40, guaranteed.
Yeah.
I was about to say
Guaranteed. Jump north of 40. He might broad north of 10 feet. Like he's so the lower
What's the
body
record?
explosiveness. 10-3, I think, by the kid that got drafted, Byron Jones, by the Cowboys. Will you look that up?
Yeah.
Again,
The
this
record?
is how my football brain works. Yeah, record for broad jump at the NFL Combine. I believe it is 10 foot 3 inches by Byron Jones, out of UConn of all places. Shouts out.
Yeah, you're dead on it. 12 feet 3 inches. Byron Jones.
12 foot 3 inches. Or
12.
10 foot. 12 foot.
12
I
feet
said
3
10
inches.
foot 3
Oh,
inches.
I thought
so
you
I
said,
wasn't right on, but
Okay.
I had the guy and I had the inches.
yeah.
12 fucking feet. My God.
Yeah, 12 feet.
Wow, that is a long way.
That man jumped over a basketball
That's big
goal.
Byron energy right there, bro. Wow, that is a lot. That is a long, long way. to jump. All right, so yeah, I think he's gonna jump north of 40 inches and north of, let's call it 11.5. 11.5 on the broad, and people are gonna shit themselves. Now, you think people are gonna shit themselves about Brock Bowers?
Wonder who the next one is.
This next one is an alien. This next one is gonna have people salivating at the NFL Combine. He gonna have Bill Belichick's unhired ass out there with the binoculars.
I was gonna say.
And it's Amarius Mims. Amarius Mims gonna measure in full 6'7" 3/4. Okay, 6'7" 3/4. He's gonna weigh in at about 330 pounds. He's gonna have maybe 87-inch wingspan. He's definitely gonna have 36-inch plus arms, and he's gonna run sub 5 seconds in the 40.
Does he even need to run?
He should.
Why?
He should.
He should. Yes, he needs to. Dude, there's Mekhi Becton changing in types of money available here.
No, yeah, I agree. Like
because he's not. I mean, honest to God, he's like tackle 5 right now.
Yeah, he's consistently like 20 to 25 range.
Here's my thing. Why do scouts put merit into how fast an offensive lineman can run a straight line for 40 yards? Yeah. I get the 10-yard split. I get measuring that. But when he goes, oh, my God, this guy ran a sub 5, who cares?
Shows that you can
He's
move.
never going to do that.
I do because I'm a body patterns guy. Like, if you run 4.85, but you look like a fucking folding lawn chair while doing so, and the guy next to you runs 5 flat, but he looks like an athlete while doing so, I don't care that athlete A ran 4.85 in a straight line because he's not an athlete. He moves like a stick figure. What if this guy has good stride patterns, if this guy doesn't get put into bad body composition positions, if this guy is constantly in the right spot at the right time because he's a good athlete, I'm more prone to take that guy. But when it comes to this, he's going to roll it and roll it smoothly. This ain't Ben Cleveland. Ben Cleveland ran 4.85 at his pro day.
Exactly like you think a mountain man would.
Yeah, this is going to be smooth. This is going to be like, damn, are you a power forward?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what people are going to look at. Like
Yeah.
this one, so.
Wasn't he a power forward?
Oh, no, he's straight center.
He was
Big
a
five.
He was a hooper,
Big
bro.
5. Throw it to me on the
You're
block.
a center.
Drop step. Yeah.
He was a hooper.
Yeah, nah, he was a big center. No doubt.
Definitely.
No doubt. I'm not going to take a guess on SVP. I don't think he does much on the field in terms of running. I know the knock. The knock's going to be arm length.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to get knocked on arm length hard. But he's going to surpass every expectation there is on the interview portions of things.
Right.
I would imagine if you told me 25 NFL teams met with Cedric, I wouldn't be surprised. Because everybody knows the bag's out. They know this dude's an exceptional human. They want to get in that room and feel him, and feel that presence about him. Bro, you got to stop.
No.
You got to stop.
Like,
I'm
I
out here
was
trying to
fine.
I'm out here trying to make legitimate NFL football points.
No, yeah, it's
And when I talk football, I get sus. Like, there ain't no doubt about it. Watch me watch film. We'll be talking about it gets bad, all right? And I don't mean to do it, but, ride the dudes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean,
you meant to do that one.
No, it didn't.
Spot on with SVP, though. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's
Don't run. Maybe go out there, do some field stuff, show your mobility, do all that good stuff. But
I think having him
just
as a locker room presence itself alone is more valuable than what he can do physically. I mean, you have an idea of what he can do physically.
a lot of people doing the should he replace Jason Kelce thing in the field. Those two humans are totally different football players.
Yeah.
Like, they cannot be any more different. Jason Kelce's a former high school running back.
Jason Kelce might also not be retiring now. Did you see
it's
that?
not official.
Yeah, I don't know.
He looks retired.
Bro, he looks like he's been doing that in the offseason every year.
Yeah, he's a vet.
Yeah, he's a vet at this shit. You know how you know you're a vet at being that guy?
When you can go and drink late at night and then show up at Disney the next day?
That you find that out early, that you're a tank. You find out early that you're a tank. I can handle my alcohol. I can be 20 beers in and grayed out and still walking and still talking and still sounding okay until, the gray ends into a black and then you're just a blackout completely. But you're an expert and you're a vet in this debauchery game and delinquency game when your wife's just okay with everything. If your wife is just out here like, that's just Jason, buddy, you've been at that game for a while. When it just doesn't phase your wife, you're an
It
OG.
probably also doesn't hurt that you have a multi-million-dollar contract.
Bingo. Doesn't hurt at all. Doesn't hurt at all.
I was gonna say when your drunk moments are good PR for you.
Yeah.
Von Bullard 4.58.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what Bullard's gonna.
It ain't gonna be fast.
No.
Yeah.
The short area quickness is not bad. The long speed it's not suspect. But look, here's the deal. Here's how you know long speed. We're gonna talk about it with Tyke here in a second. Here's how you know long speed is suspect at the nickel position. You start getting slot goes. Like, teams have identified that you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Georgia Tech's entire game plan in 2022 was, hey, just throw it 22 in a vertical fashion. Take that little Singleton kid and just run as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And we'll just try to throw him the ball on a deep ball. And hopefully we hit one of them. If we do, we get a field goal out of it at the very least. So when I see teams attacking you vertically, and that was the whole game plan, was we're going to throw vertical balls on 22, I know, again, the other coordinator thinks lesser of you in terms of your top-end speed than everybody else on the field.
So here's a question I'll ask then. Is he a guy who you don't think should run? Because, I mean, he's really helped this draft stock the way he's played
going to
in
run
the
one
Senior
way or the
Bowl.
other. And I find that I would imagine if it's either run here or run at your pro day, I'm running in Indy. Have y'all seen the numbers the guys put down the last 3 years? I don't know if it's the turf. I don't know if it's the adrenaline. I don't know. I don't know if it's the timer. I don't know what it is. But them dudes in Indy are running faster than ever before. Take your ass up there, train well, run a 4.55, call it a day, don't run at your pro day. And then you're good. Like, all he needs is sub 4.6. People know what it is. You're not drafting Javon Bullard because he's some first-round freak. You're not drafting Javon Bullard because of his height, weight, speed. You're drafting Javon Bullard because he's one of the better football players in this draft. And I think no matter what he does in Indy, unless he bombs, unless he just runs really, really slow, which he would do at his pro day. If he's slow, he's going to run at his pro day. He's going to run slow.
Yeah.
We found that out with Darren Kendrick. Like, Darren Kendrick's just slow.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Like, he's
Still playing on Sundays.
Still a great cover corner. Still great in zone coverage as well. So, like, there are certain limitations to every man's football game. With Javon, it's height, weight, speed. And you know it's going to be a question. Go run as fast as you possibly can. Train hard, pray hard, and go out there and run 4.55. And you'll be a top 80 eval.
Yeah.
He'll be a top 80 pick. So there's that. Kamari Laster, 4.45?
Yeah. 4.4, definitely.
I was thinking on the lower end of 4.4.
I don't know.
I was going to go 4.47.
Or higher, I mean.
Yeah.
Higher
I was
end.
going to go 4.47.
Like, if you told me you ran 4.51, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. I was saying like 4.48 is what I had.
Again, tremendous mover.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Stokes ran, what, 4.38?
Yes.
Yeah, he was low.
And hear me out. Kamari's the better athlete.
I agree.
Absolutely.
He won't run fast. He won't run that fast. But I think it was 4.38.
He may have.
He ran a 4.28.
Yeah, I was about to say, it may have been 4.2.
That's what it was.
That's exactly.
Still think Kamari's a better athlete.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. Yeah, with the 4.28, it's insane.
That's nuts. 4.47 is a good guess there.
Yeah.
4.45, 4.47, somewhere around there. Tyke Smith, our last one of the night. 4.68 plus.
Yeah.
He'll be the slowest DB of them all.
Yes.
But most instinctual of them all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even Bull. Like, Bull's an instinctual freak. There's a reason Tyke led the team in both tackles for loss, and interceptions.
Yep.
All three. So that's a football playing SOB. He just ain't going to run fast. He's not going to run fast. If you were to ask me, don't run.
Yeah.
Don't. Honestly, just interview, go do field drills, do all that good
Maybe-
stuff. But if they want to see how fast you are, tell them to turn on the 40 freaking games of college football that you play.
Yeah, maybe we tweak an ankle or something right as we're warming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Don't do what N'Kobe did. Pec injuries. I mean, come on. No pec injuries.
Yeah.
Can't be doing that. But, yeah, maybe tweak a hammy and warm ups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like,
Wouldn't be bad for you.
feeling a little tight.
Shit.
Yeah, man. Just wasn't feeling it today. And then, influenza during the pro day.
The classic Justin Bieber. Just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, just not feeling it today. Tyke, I saw a third-round eval on Tyke today. Tyke
Really?
made himself some damn money in Mobile.
Good.
Tyke, friend of the show, I think we're going to have him on at some point.
Ooh.
Definitely going to have Key on. Like, Tyke has expressed serious interest in coming on and breaking down some film and doing
Hell
the
yeah.
whole kit and caboodle in studio. Hopefully, the rest of the confirmed, I'll come through. hopefully they definitely want to come through after Tyke definitely comes through, because Tyke is excited about coming to do it, right? Excited about talking about the star position, excited about talking football, excited about sitting down here and hanging out with the guys.
Be sick.
We're going to see. We're going to see about the rest of them.
Well, that's a good one if it's a starter. That's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
And one other one that I'm almost guaranteed, and he's on the wall over there, almost guaranteed.
I know.
Come on.
Yeah.
Right? Definitely coming through.
Double M.
So we'll have to see about that. But, all right, favorite transfer, 7 of them. 7 transfers for the University of Georgia this offseason. And I'll be interested to hear you guys' thoughts. Who is your favorite transfer that is coming in terms of hey, this I got a feeling this guy might be a dude?
It's hard not to pick this one. Trevor Etienne.
Yeah.
That dude screams that he's just going to – I mean, in a system where he's going to be around better players, a better offensive line, just a better overall environment. Everybody that talks about him now says he's just got a great personality. He's already loving Georgia. He seems like a guy that is just going to come to Georgia, crush it one final year, and then dip off to the NFL. But I think it's going to be a really good final year for Trevor Etienne. I think he's going to bring some life into that running back room, and I just think that there's a lot to be excited about with what he brings.
Yeah, Trevor Etienne was my pick too. It's hard to, when you look at that transfer list, not to go, hey, that guy was a fringe starter in the SEC for how many years?
If not fringe, I think he was a starter, wasn't he?
I don't know if he was the 2-back or the 1, but he
put up 1 numbers.
He got a good amount of carries at an SEC school, so adding that to your roster anytime is a huge. So I think
he was 1B on 1st and 10. Meaning he was the secondary option on P and 10. Yeah. But anything outside of that, if there were any opportunity for pass plays, Etienne was in that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a great addition. I'm excited to see what he can do this year.
So, y'all both went Etienne. I have found myself, when I first got into the business, I was a football playing slave. If you're a good football player, I'm in love with you. If you do it the right way, do all the practice habits are correct, all this good stuff. The more and more I get around it, the more and more I talk to people inside that building up in Athens, the more and more I watch Super Bowls like we watched last night. Dude, I am becoming a ceiling slave. I am a ceiling slave. If your ceiling is high, I am in love with you, because I look at it this way. If I coach at the University of Georgia and I'm a position coach, I'm top 10 at my job in the world. Or in college football. At least that's the way my mindset would carry me. I am at the University of Georgia coaching for Kirby Smart. I'm a guy. I know I can coach football. I've been doing it for years. I coach at the University of Georgia now. I should be taking hammer hacks. I should be taking big-ass swings, because
I think I know where this is going.
If Colby Young turns into what I think Colby Young can be, Colby Young might be one of the best receivers to ever walk through the University of Georgia. You turn on that Texas A&M tape and tell me that ain't the freakiest SOB that played college football last year at the wide receiver position. 6'5", 210, run like a spooked deer. Buddy is all of it. All of it. And I hope, for the love of God, it turns into what it could be. But it could be something really, really great.
That'd be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, this is a pretty hefty transfer in class that Kirby's had. 7. They don't usually do that. So there's more. I think Xavier McLeod could also be a big name.
Oh, you did it. You did it.
McLeod.
It is spelled like McLeod.
I'm the asshole for that one, huh? You spell it McLeod. I'm the asshole.
I thought you were getting on to me.
No, I gave you the face.
My bad.
My face was just out here I'm the asshole for pronouncing things phonetically. My bad.
Hey, look. We all have our mistakes. Sorry, Xavier.
McLeod.
It won't happen again.
Spelled with an E.
I mean, there's Ray McCloud in the NFL. There's
Is that spelled the same way?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, he's goofy too. No, I'm just kidding. Could pan out to be a really great football player. Didn't work out at South Carolina for a variety of reasons. I think it was a combination of Xavier being a young football player who was a borderline 5-star in the state of South Carolina and was made out to be God's gift to South Carolina football. At least that's the way they sold it to him when they recruited him. And then when he got there, his position coach left. They hired an in-house 24-year-old to run the room. I'm going to tell you right now, the history of that doesn't play out well. If you're out here in-house hiring graduate assistants who are 24, 25 years old to run entire rooms in this conference with how much money these kids are making, That's not going to end well. And it
Right.
did not end well at South Carolina. And now he's at Georgia, and he might turn into what he's could be. Because I remember going to the Under Armour event out at that year. It was at Denmark High School. It was raining. It was like 38 degrees. You got Ja Jarrett on the field. You got Xavier McLeod on the field. At the time, Trey Scott recruiting them both, trying to figure out which one of them he was going to end up taking. Tried to take both of them. McLeod obviously ended up going to South Carolina. But I remember leaving that day thinking, yeah, Ja Jarrett's the biggest human in this class. Xavier McLeod is the best big human in this class. Xavier McLeod out of high school was 6'5", 330 pounds, goofy. I mean, zero swag on the kid. You'll see no tape. You'll see low top sneakers or low top cleats with low ankle socks. Okay, I'm talking about like wears his knee pads down past his knees. Like zero swag on the kid, but freak. Craziest freak at the nose tackle position I think they've had since Jordan, to put it that way. So there's some serious ceiling there with McLeod. And my sources tell me when they added him that they were expecting like multiple hundreds of snaps this year for him, like close to 200 snaps. And if you divide 200 snaps by 13 games, you're looking at what, like 18, 20 snaps a game?
Yeah.
So they expect this kid to play a lot, which I would too if you invested in him like this in terms of a transfer market. But here's the overall larger discussion, which we haven't got into our favorite transfer. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you look at the history of transfers at the University of Georgia since it's really become a thing, which is basically Kirby's regime, boys, the track record ain't great. Because when I put this question to you guys, we came up with two names of transfers that came to the University of Georgia and enhanced their career and enhanced the program during their time there. Those two names from our consensus were Lawrence Cager, coming from Miami, spending a year at Georgia, went to the New York Jets out of his draft, and has now become a tight end, and I believe he plays for the Giants. So a career that has panned out in the NFL and panned out at Georgia. He won you a couple of football games during his time there as well. So that one panned out. But the real, like, hey, that was a dude. That was, oh, my God, wow, how'd y'all get that one? J.R. Reed out of Tulsa. When J.R. Reed transferred to Tulsa, or from Tulsa to Georgia, it was a gamble on himself, but it was also because the Gibbs kid, D'Angelo Gibbs, is that the name? D'Angelo Gibbs is actually J.R. Reed's birth cousin. So they thought by way of getting J.R. in the portal and giving him an opportunity to play at a bigger school, they thought they were going to have a better chance of landing Gibbs. They actually did land Gibbs. Gibbs obviously flames out within like 6 months at Georgia, I believe, and finishes his career out, I believe, at Tennessee. But and I think he's still playing college football.
He
somehow,
is. I think he's at Louisville now.
Louisville. Okay, so it's been a tumultuous career for him, but nonetheless, they took JR because, hey, you got a 5-star cousin. JR ended up being far better than I think anybody ever imagined him being.
I think there's two other names, though, that we need to throw into this
You're forgetting
mix.
one big one.
One big one.
Mo Smith?
No.
I mean, Maurice Smith was kind of the first transfer.
I get thrown at that one all the time. I think it's because he the first one.
Yeah, I think if you look as far as impact, Darian Kendrick absolutely needs to be on the list because, I mean, if you don't have Darian Kendrick in that national championship season, then you're playing Amir Speed and Keely Ringo. But I think Darian Kendrick and Keely Ringo, that was a great combination of athletes to have on the field that impacted your roster. I mean, he was MVP in the Orange Bowl. That was a massive dub for Georgia.
Then let's not forget that Tyke Smith led the team in interceptions, tackles for loss, all that at the star position.
So you got 4 really good hits.
Yeah.
4 hits.
But I mean, there's not a whole lot of misses either. Like
no stone cold misses.
Yeah,
Jamie Newman, stone cold miss.
Yeah, the thing I've noticed, like I looked at all the logs. The reason there's not a lot of hits because there's not a lot of takes. Like from 2016 to 2021, you took Darian Kendrick, Tyke Smith, Eric Gilbert, JT Daniels, Steven Peterson, Jamie Newman, Lawrence Cager,
Eli Wolf,
and Trey McKitty. I mean, those were like solid guys. Like it's nothing that like oh my God, blow the world up. But I mean,
I just don't like when you look through all those lists. There's no Jameson Williams success story there.
No.
There's no Joe Burrow success story there. There's no Keon Coleman there.
No, but I mean, I think that's intentional.
Dude, I mean, Florida State had 3 of these guys last year.
Yeah, but you're also talking about Kirby Smart has specifically said that I don't want to build my roster on the back of a transfer portal. Like, we'll
Yeah.
fill holes with that, and that's what they've done. They've gone out and gotten solid players. They don't need to get stars with that.
Now,
So I think that's kind of why
I
you're
mean-
seeing it. I don't know if it's as much like they're missing evals on transfers as much as it is like we just don't really need to get into that.
Now, this year's transfer class feels different than
Mhm.
any other transfer class. Like, you don't get
It's way
Trevor
larger, too.
Etienne just to add some depth to your running back
Right.
room. You don't get Colby Young, Michael Jackson III, and London Humphreys just to add depth to your wide receiver.
No.
Like, you are getting guys that you clearly want. I mean, you touched on with McLeod. Like, they want this guy to play. These are kids that they want to play and have a major impact on the roster.
We see so many of these
Right.
other, like, massive hits.
Mm-hmm.
And I think here's what I know about Georgia now that we've seen it, especially with this class. Michael Jackson's the only one I think that defies this, and the Urasek kid. Every other person that they've had transfer to them or with them, they either knew about, like Lawrence Cager, you know, Todd Hartley's time at Miami. They were very well aware of who he was. Oh, also James Coley, right? You take, you know, Trey McKitty goes outside of this, Florida State. They didn't play them. But the rest of these guys, they have experience with. They've seen across the lines. They've seen within their conference, and they've taken there. What they haven't done is what Florida State did, which Florida State, one Power 5 transfer in Keon Coleman. But like the Brandon Fisk addition for them was huge. That was a mid-major guy.
Yep.
And then the Jared Verse addition was massive. That was a mid-major guy. Georgia, and you know, to a credit of their own, they don't take gambles on these things. They want guaranteed Band-Aids. Peel it off, stick it. Let's hope it holds us till the next year when our wounds
Right.
can heal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
So.
you've seen the fruits of that labor play out in your postseason. Like, you have a more connected roster because of that. Look at what happened. I mean, the Orange Bowl is a perfect example of that. Like, the Georgia Bulldog roster that played in the Orange Bowl was so connected and cared about each other so much because not a lot of them were transfers.
Mercenary behavior. You got to avoid it.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to avoid it. But I don't know, man. Like, no Kenneth Walker on that list, you know?
No.
No.
Maybe Trevor Etienne is that this year.
Yeah.
Maybe. But there are some massive, massive success stories elsewhere.
I mean, Cameron Nizelek is a hit, too. The punter from Columbia.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I looked it up in the bio. He was putting up some numbers as a punter. Like, he was putting up the best number since Drew Butler.
That is impressive.
I mean, just saying, like, you needed a punter, you went and got a really good one. I do think, honestly, like, I think you can make an argument that JT Daniels could be on this list, too. Hold on. Hear me out just a little bit. I think he has had a huge impact on the University of Georgia, not on the field, but I think more so off the field.
Fashion.
You listen to – no, not the turtlenex or anything like that.
Turtlenex in 90 degrees
Leave
weather.
that in California. That needs to stay in California. But, like, you listen to any story out of that quarterback room over the last few years, everybody – like, Carson Beck and Stetson Bennett both mentioned, like, JT
he's
Daniels
brilliant.
absolutely brilliant. Like, Stetson Bennett mentions, like, how him and JT would talk throughout the games, like, look at him on the sidelines, like, are you seeing the same coverage that I am? I think he had a massive impact on the development of that quarterback room.
He's already getting into coaching. He's retired from football because of the concussions. And he's going to find his way into coaching. I would imagine he's a graduate assistant already somewhere. We just haven't heard it talked about.
He said if Georgia had a job for him today, he'd take it right now.
Yeah.
Would you count Stetson as a transfer?
No. That's just like I talked to you pre-show, I don't count Devontae Wyatt as a transfer.
Yeah.
If I selectively plant you at a community college only to recruit you 12 months later, you're mine. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that was a plan. It was a plot. We was scheming, plotting, scheming, get money. BDE,
yeah,
baby. No, I think that was the bigger discussion to be had is, man, where are the home runs? I know you got some hits. You got some CNI singles out here.
Some
but
ground rule doubles.
Where's the homies? Where are the home runs here? Maybe you hit some in this class coming up.
If you don't get one of them out of 7.
Bro, if you don't get 2 receivers, if 2 of these guys don't ball out, I think you're in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, just because you don't have in that room specifically, in the wide receiver room, you're dependent upon 5 transfers this year. Ra Thomas, Dom Lovett, London Humphreys, Colby Young, Michael Jackson III. The only homegrown talents that Georgia's going into this year, thinking based off my sources, thinking that might actually like play a major role is Dylan Bell and Anthony Evans.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it's all transfer dependencies. So you better hit big time on somebody there.
The only other name that I can think of is Tyler Williams. That's
Selectively left off that list.
yeah, I figured.
just talked about.
But
Yeah.
that's like the only other name on the roster I'm saying I could think of.
Man, I thought he might end up. I thought Tyler Williams was gonna be a freak. Like walk in year one, I'm gonna be a guy.
I mean, it's just year 2 for him going into
That's
now.
what I'm saying. Still may make me right, but coming out of high school at Lakeland,
Yeah,
I talked to an SEC coach the other day that asked me about him.
I still remember
I'm not
watching
allowed
that
to
tape.
answer that question, but I'll answer it for you. He's like, man, I love that kid coming out. I was like, I did too, coach. Don't. We're waiting on it. It might happen. But yeah, so there's that. 2023 signee that absolutely has to ball in 2024. These are rising sophomores, rising redshirt freshmen, whatever you want to call them. Who are the members of this class that absolutely guaranteed, hey, this year, hey, it's only year 2, but we need you to ball out this year if we're going to be successful?
I think
oh, you go.
I think there's one answer we all collectively share.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, C.J. Allen.
Oh,
Well,
Well, that was guaranteed.
I think I was
one that I honestly didn't even.
I think CJ and Raylan are like, yeah.
I almost put
y'all
Raylan on
have
mine.
to play this year.
Yeah.
Y'all have to play well this year.
yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of expected that they're going to do that,
Exactly.
just based on what they did freshman. I was going with more of the area
All
of
right, we'll
like
try this again. 1, 2, 3.
Jonah
Jonah
Aguero. There it is.
Yeah. If Jonah Aguero is not what we think he is, I'm not going to say George is in trouble, but who the hell is playing star? Jonah Aguero is what we think he is and gets hurt. Who the hell is playing star? What are we doing?
I know who.
What are you going to do? Who? David
Jake
Dane?
Pope.
Huh?
Jake Pope, baby.
Oh yeah, Jake Pope. That's right. Buford legend. I don't know. I really don't.
No,
I don't
yeah,
know what goes on
no,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ja'Cory Thomas. Are you
Maybe.
rolling Ja'Cory Thomas out?
Maybe.
Might have to.
Whoever. Here's the other thing.
Do you?
Go ahead.
I mean, do you even tell like, hey, Malachi, and then see if you can plug someone else at free?
This is what I was going to get into. I don't know who's cross training.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know who's cross training because every time we ask him about it, Kirby gives us some type of rigmarole.
they all are.
Yeah, they all are. Everybody cross trains.
Everybody
except the
gets
freshmen. We would never do that to freshmen.
Malachi Stark.
Yeah, like what? Straight cap and hat, dog. Yeah, no, I don't know what's gonna happen there, but Jonah Aguero has to be a
Absolutely.
guy this year.
I got 2. They play the same position: Ja Jarrett and Jordan Hall. I think those 2 guys. I don't think it's like do or die. Obviously, that they have to absolutely ball out. But if like for the defense to really tap into that ceiling and explode out of that ceiling that I think is set upon them, if Jordan Hall and Jamal Jarrett play like they are labeled and play like we think they can, both of them. Oh, I mean, it does wonders for your interior defensive line, especially knowing that you get Nazir Stackhouse back and you get Warren Brinson back along with so many other names. Those 2 guys, if they can really elevate their game, sky's the limit.
I love that. I love that sound for it. Oh, go ahead.
It does help to have a guy like Dan Jackson in that room. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
So, but no,
Veteran.
I thought you were talking about defensive
Dan
line.
Jackson's
No.
a veteran.
no, yeah.
That's crazy.
North Hall legend.
Shouts out. Hey, you got buckets on Dan Jackson, didn't you?
I did.
That one time?
There's verified proof of it.
Oh. Certified bucket getter?
Yeah, just look it up.
Dan Jackson, high effort guy.
Oh yeah.
Just strappy D.
Oh yeah.
That's about it.
I feel like if Julian Edelman played safety, that's what Dan Jackson would be. That's my comp. Julian Edelman
like
at
that.
safety.
What if Nate Burleson played safety?
Maybe.
That's my go-to. Because Nate Burleson and Julian had very similar skill sets, but nobody ever remembers Nate. 'Cause he played
Dan
in
Jackson
Detroit.
reminds me of Harrison Smith. That's my comp.
What are you doing there?
That's
What
what
I was
he reminds
doing
me
is
of.
Julian Edelman played safety.
What are you doing there, man?
But no, one guy I think that it's going to be important that he has a big year is Rod Robb.
Yeah.
Like I think the running back room isn't thin like it was last year, but it could get thin if you have a guy like Roger Robertson not living up to kind of the hype that's been created for him in this offseason.
You mentioned Jordan Hall. Damon Wilson's got to have a year this year.
Yeah.
Just from an optics standpoint, you landed 5-star. Like I think he was like the number 4 overall player in 2023. He was really, really highly ranked and verifiable. Like I think he was my number 1 edge rusher. I don't think I know. It was him number 1, Sam and Pimba number 2. You landed them both. But Damon's far closer to playing. If you told me Sam didn't really make meaningful reps until his junior year, I would say even in high school, I'd have been like, that makes sense because he just started playing this position. I think a lot of people forget. Salmon Pimba was a top 25 eval as a tight end up until through his sophomore year of film. So he had 2 years of high school down at IMG where he's playing this hybrid, like we don't know what he's going to be. He's 6'3", 250 pounds essentially. We don't know what he's going to do, but he's a great athlete. So stick him at tight end first. Then they eventually moved him over to defensive end, but he didn't play a true edge position and figure out how to be an edge rusher or an edge player until the spring of his junior year. And by the time he was playing football that fall, he was arguably the best edge in high school football. So it was very, very quick development for him. He's that type of athlete in terms of, hey, here's the new skill set we need you to implement. And he's like a computer chip in the sense that he's just like, okay, that's who I am now. I got a bag. I can be out here pass rushing like a freak out of nowhere. So, but I think there's a lot more patience in that camp than there should be in the Damon Wilson camp because Damon Wilson should be a guy.
Right.
Damon Wilson should be a 10-sack guy before he leaves the University of Georgia. And if he doesn't become that, it's a product of the system and a little bit of a disappointment in my mind. So there you go. Any other?
I mean, Daniel Harris is in this class. So if he wins the defensive back job or the cornerback spot, one of the two, then obviously.
Man, what a gem Fran Brown found himself there. You know, going down to, I think it's South Florida. That's almost Miami pulling that kid out.
Here's a question I have for you. Out of these two tight ends, Lawson or Pierce, who do you think needs to have a better year?
I mean, Lawson's far closer to playing consistently.
Yeah.
So would you say it's important that Pierce has a better year then? Or?
Pierce's season of development has nothing to do with playing time this year. It has everything to do with holding Jaden Riddell off. That's what Pierce Spurlin needs to be focused on this year. Pierce Spurlin don't need to be going into position meetings asking about getting the ball. He don't need to be asking about where I'm at on the depth chart. He needs to be making sure he's beating the shit out of Jaden Riddell every day in practice because that's the threat. The threat is not the two guys in front of him. 3 guys in front of him now with Urasek.
Great point.
Good point.
So that's where we're at there. But yeah, the answer is Jonah Aguero. Can you believe this Aaron Murray cat? Can you believe this shit?
What happened?
I was, this was like my favorite, what I was looking forward to most about February.
Yeah, me too.
Is that we were going to get to go
I had the
watch
cleats
this.
dusted off and everything.
So the Churchill's boy wonder, Aaron Murray, had a tentative date with yours truly to have a throwing competition of sorts. And I think when a lot of people hear that, they're like, oh, y'all are going to go out and see how far you can throw it. No, I'd wipe the floor with him with that. That's not the competition. The competition is an actual throwing competition. Like, we're going to go out, we're going to, throw 15 to 20, like, pro day scripted throws. Like, hey, 3-step to the slant, 5-step with a hitch to the comeback. Like, we're going to do a pro day script. And then we're going to do an accuracy gauntlet, and then I'll throw the ball 10 yards further than him. We'll do all of those things in, like, an order and have a quarterback competition. Now, Aaron and his company with the Players Lounge agreed to a tentative date of February 28th. We all let it out. We all teased it, all this good stuff. And next thing I know, I start getting videos sent to me of Aaron on snaps talking about, oh, yeah, we'll do it mid-April. I need 2 months to train.
Oh, so this wasn't something you even talked about with him. He was just like,
No,
oh, yeah, this is what we're doing.
Snaps after we had agreed on a tentative date of February 28th.
Oh.
Then told his snaps folks, nah, it's going to be mid-April. I need time to train. And, boys, I'm going to tell you right now, if an NFL football player feels like he's got to train to beat my fat ass in a throwing competition, I think I've already kind of proved my point.
Well, I guess we know who wears the pants in this relationship, Kirby.
Murray. He's freaking Aaron Murray.
And?
I'm the film guy. What are you talking about? A self-made SEC all-timer. You know what I mean? Like, this is two totally different categories. So, yeah, he does wear the pants. Also, I'm trying to bait him into something that he doesn't need to be doing.
So now
yeah, I mean, he has
Zero
everything
to
lose.
Zero to gain here.
This is Apollo versus Rocky, dude.
Look, here's the deal, and I've said this on our platform, and if this gets sent to Aaron, I want him to understand this. This is not about me trying to embarrass Aaron Murray. This is about me trying to figure out whether or not my scouting theories are correct. And here's my scouting theory. Throwing the football ain't shit. It ain't got nothing to do with playing the quarterback position. It's a prerequisite. All right? It is, do you breathe oxygen? All right? Can you spell your name to get into college? That's what being a good thrower of the football is. But if you look at the all-time greats in the history of the quarterback position, Not all of them are 2% choochers. Not all of them got massive-ass arms, okay? They don't all look like Josh Allen. They don't all look like Pat Mahomes. Some of them look like Drew Brees. Some of them are the greatest of all time, looking like Tom Brady, who has never, ever been brought up in the conversation of, that dude's got a big arm. No. Throwing the football has very little to do with actually being a quarterback, and I am out to prove that. And I chose Aaron not only because he's the greatest, Georgia quarterback per stats that we can find. He's also the highest ranking quarterback in terms of caliber that we have access to. But Aaron is the definition of this. Aaron beat out a guy with a 1% arm, right? And I know Mettenberger had his own stuff, but the writing was on the wall. It looked like Aaron was going to win that job. All right. Aaron went through a career at the University of Georgia and set SEC passing records, and he doesn't have the biggest arm in the world. He was a quarterback. He is a quarterback. I think I'm a thrower. We're going to go see if you can tell the difference in shorts and a T-shirt, other than the fact that one guy's kind of fat and the other guy's really, really handsome. Okay? So, yeah, that's the point.
It's no different than not every guy that can throw a baseball 98 miles an hour ends up on the pitcher's mound.
You're right. Some of them end up in right field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the goal.
Now I have something to look forward to 2 months from now.
This is definitely how you should have pitched it to Aaron. Or
Yeah,
just like, hey, I'm doing an experiment, man.
No.
It's way
he
more
wouldn't-
fun to
he
just
wouldn't
go
have
in
done
there
it.
and say, like, I'm
You
going to
suck,
beat you
Aaron
down.
He wouldn't
Murray.
have done it. I didn't even say you suck. I don't even know how this got brought up. I think we were on Snaps, and I was like, bro, I would outthrow you in a heartbeat. No, he was on our show. He was on our
yeah.
show.
That's what it was.
And
the
I was
first
like,
time
bro,
we had him on.
I would walk circles around you just throwing the football.
You hurt his feelings when you said that.
And then he subsequently dodged me for a month and then bought himself another 2 months to train. Come on.
He's getting ready, dude. He's gonna
He
kick
can get
your
ready
ass.
all he wants. All I'm doing is showing up and chooching out. That's it, bro. I'm out here throwing seeds. Speaking of coming out or heading out, we're heading out. For
I'm not laughing at that.
I love you. We'll see you
Oh,
Thursday
man.
evening. Bye.